I'm Riyadh, a gay man living in London. A vlogger and a journalist. I grew up Catholic, but my father is Iraqi, so I spent much of my childhood at the local mosque. When I came out, I began to understand that mainstream religions don't like people like me.
To me, LGBT stands for let God burn them. You say, well, it's LGBTQ. Well, then you could say, let God burn them quickly.
Right.
Okay. God hates fags. What part of that don't you understand?
How can you engage yourselves with the same sex? The Quran clearly says that it is wrong what you are doing.
You're walking through a Muslim area dressed like a fag, mate. You need to get out of it.
I want to know, though, can you bring together your religion and your sexual identity, even though the scriptures say that you're wrong? Does God really hate queers?
I don't think God hates queers, I think people hate queers.
God created all of us, so how could he hate us?
God loves everybody, really. I think God's quite forgiving.
But see, you say that as if we're supposed to feel sorry about it. I'm not gonna apologise for being what you made. That's like the little cake that you made in the oven being like, sorry, I'm burnt. You left me in too long.
I feel like he doesn't hate anyone, he just doesn't want anyone to be gay.
I would say that God likes me very much.
Why would it be a sin to hold my girlfriend's hand? It just doesn't make sense.
Of course, attitudes towards homosexuality have changed with the times, and even religions have had to adapt, especially here in the UK. But it's still a fact that in 72 countries, same-sex relations are illegal. And in 13 of those countries, it's punishable by death. One option is that you can abstain, which is not something that I would ever do, but I'm super intrigued by the fact that there are still faith-based organisations out there willing to help you rid yourself of your homosexual demons.
Do you believe that the Lord tonight has set you free? Yes, sir. Tell him. I'm not gay no more. I am delivered. I don't like men no more. I said I like women. Women. I'm not gay. I would not carry a purse. I would not put on makeup. I will love a woman.
What did I just watch? I don't like men's no more. Yeah, you do.
I moved to London about 1.5 years ago. Dalston's a great place to find yourself and not be ashamed of who you are, I think. One day, I told my family that I am gay and I have a boyfriend. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, so we were taught that homosexuality was a sin.
People have their own ideas about what is right and wrong, but what matters is how Jehovah feels. He wants us to be happy, and he knows how we can be happiest. That's why he invented marriage the way he did.
You mean one man and one woman?
Exactly.
Because I confessed to my parents, we had to confess it also to the congregation. They saw that I wasn't as repentant as I was probably supposed to be, and that's when they decided to disfellowship me. Disfellowshipping is being judged and excommunicated from the Christian congregation. The whole process is to keep the congregation clean. This is the Bible that I used to preach with. I've pretty much got rid of everything else, but I just can't bring myself to get rid of this for some reason. I just think it's a lack of respect to throw away a Bible. I've actually got the date in there when I got this Bible, December 2013. That was about 10 months before I came out.
I'm trying to find out as much as I can about what the Jehovah's Witnesses don't like about the gays. There's a lot. They say that if you are homosexual, the reason why that is because you have a demonic possession. How glam.
Josh hasn't been back to his hometown since being ostracised by his family and congregation 2 years ago.
You grew up here?
Yeah.
And your family still live here?
Yeah, so they live Down this street, actually, a little bit further down. These were the streets that I used to preach on as well, so I'd literally go from door to door on this street.
Does it feel like you kind of want to rock up there to number 22, knock on the door and give the spiel again, or is it completely gone?
I think I'd be a bit rusty now.
At some point in your life, you realised that you were having feelings that weren't quite accepted by the Jehovah's Witnesses.
And I suppose when I reached the age of 14, I started looking at guys and thinking, oh yeah, you know, this is clearly what it is. And I was caught watching porn at 14.
Rookie mistake.
Can you believe it? On dial-up as well.
No! You know, my mum found some stuff as well, and that's kind of how I started. Dude, are we like the same person? Do you feel like the kid who is here is the same guy that is in front of me now? Are you a different person?
It almost feels like a dream ages ago. I was brought up to be a person that I thought I was supposed to be in the religion. You can only live so long lying to people and like pretending. So I told my parents, and then you have to be put into something that's called a judicial committee. And they ask you a lot of questions about what you've done, how many times have you had sex, what kind of sex have you had.
Do they make a distinction between a hand job and anal?
Yeah.
Oh.
You can even be disfellowshipped for homosexual pornography. And then it goes up, so hand job, blow job, anal sex.
Is anal like the worst you can do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, this is Kingdom Hall, where you would come for your meetings. When you were here the last time, was this for the judicial process?
I just remember walking out and into the car park and giving my parents a call to let them know the news. That's the worst kind of news that you want to hear if you're a Jehovah's Witness parent. I got a letter through my door a few days after that saying that my family no longer would be able to see me anymore. And I went round in the evening and kind of said goodbye to them, I guess. And there was loads of tears, loads of crying. And then I left and I drove off, you know, and I've never seen them since. I don't blame them for what's happened because I understand what's going on. But I'd also just love there to be some connection, no matter what it is, you know, if they can find it within themselves to have some connection.
When he was disfellowshipped from the Jehovah's Witnesses, he was sent a letter by his family. He told me that it was too painful for him to read out in person, so he's sent it to me. Dearest Joshua, it is with the deepest sorrow and tears that we have to write you this letter. Association and texts have to stop now, until the day when we are family again. Please keep going in your resolve to come back to us, as a single day will not go by without one of us thinking of you. We love you so much. Please be strong. Love from Mom. I love you so much. Love, Dad. The idea of not having your family there, they're still there, they're not dead. But you can't be with them, you can't even... She said that he can't text them anymore. This relationship, my mom and me, and the idea of her throwing me out and not having me in her life anymore, I know it will kill her and it will kill me. They're basing these huge life decisions on a book.
Josh has had literally no choice in finding himself on the outside of his faith. But there are faith groups all over the UK opening up to the LGBTQ community.
I identify as transmasculine, so I use he, him pronouns. My sexual identity, I say that I'm pansexual. Growing up and struggling with my sexual identity and then my gender identity, I just didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. So my faith has been incredibly important because it's always given me a reason to keep going.
Could it be possible to genuinely reconcile the desire for a faith identity as an LGBTQ person? How important is your faith to you?
I had this feeling that I was somehow wrong or that I was somehow, like, you know, a bit gross. I was feeling like, you know, if this continues, then I don't want to be on my own. I don't want to feel this isolated and kind of sad all the time, you know, and like kind of self-hating all the time. I'd rather just not be around.
Yeah.
It was the knowledge that there was this power that loved me no matter what I did or like who I was. It's actually saved my life.
Did you feel that there was a fear there? Because obviously you've seen the way certain churches treat gay people.
In the church that I'm in now, and the church that I came out in, they practiced what they preached in terms of being open in solidarity with the LGBT community. So I always felt safe.
So you've got a very special day coming up, is that right?
I am having a naming ceremony. It's kind of like a dedication or a christening kind of thing, because I started my transition over 2 years ago, and I became quite upset with the name that I'd chosen. I became quite disconnected from it because I wasn't passing and people would call me Ellie. So what I wanted to do was kind of stand up in front of my community and say, hey, this is me, I want to be a part of the community. And the more that I've kind of come back to my church and kind of got through the fear and just said, oh, fuck it, this is who I am, the more that I start loving myself and my name again. So it's actually really important to me now.
You seem so strong because of your faith. You could just feel it, it's radiating from you. If you had one piece of like golden advice for a young trans person of faith, what would it be?
Your faith is gonna get you through. And also you have to learn how to love yourself first. I think that's the thing, because you can change your own internal monologue, even if you can't change anybody else's mind.
I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks at your renaming ceremony.
Yeah,
I can't
definitely.
wait.
Me neither.
Well, I'll chat to you later. Elijah is insanely inspirational. The renaming ceremony is just going to be that next step that he needs to take to feel absolutely 100% comfortable in his own skin and with this new name that he's chosen. I think it's going to be a very, very special and emotional day for him, and probably for me as well.
An advert suggesting gay people can be cured through therapy has been banned by Transport for London.
Should you try to cure gays? Well, this man says therapy changed his sexual desires.
I've always been aware of my homosexual issues, and even though I've been married for almost 29 years, I've been in conflict in terms of my Christian identity and my understanding of sexuality. So it's been my personal desire to try to establish the greatest heterosexual potentiality that I have.
Has it been a struggle?
It has been a struggle.
I'm about to call Dr. Mike Davidson. He's from the Core Trust, which is a Christian organisation who say they can change you and get rid of your homosexuality. Mike.
Hi, Riyadh.
How do you help gay people?
So for some people, homosexual feelings are inconsistent with the values that they hold. Because we see it as a developmental issue, it is something that we think anybody can work on if that's what they want to do.
A developmental issue. Just explain that.
So developmental in that context is about postnatal. In other words, what happens to you after you have been born. The environment is very important.
Do you believe that homosexuality is a choice?
Certainly in my case, it wasn't a choice. I found that I had these feelings and I was not consciously aware of choosing anything, but I recognized in my life that I had choices around those feelings. And I think that that is a very important dimension that is being lost today.
Were you shameful of your homosexuality?
Absolutely, I was, because I didn't understand it. For me, it didn't sit comfortably. And certainly, there was a spiritual component to this. There was an understanding of a biblical worldview, and I'm not talking about 8 scriptures, I'm talking about the whole tone and tenor of scripture.
Is it possible for a gay person to be religious and for the two to live in harmony?
Clearly, there are individuals who hold those two things together and are happy doing so. That if you take the biblical scholarship, there is no way you can reconcile modern understanding of homosexuality and spiritual faith that is Bible-based.
For a client coming to you seeking your service,
yeah,
what sort of cost is it?
0.
So you do it from the goodness of your own heart?
I do it because professionals in this country have reneged on their responsibility to be open-minded to people who are being denied the right and the freedom to go in the direction that they want to go in. They are being told that they don't know what's good for them. That's why I do it.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Have a good day, Mike. I'm sorry, but if you're offering people this service, you are telling them that there is something lesser or something wrong with their sexual identity and their sexuality. I find it deeply, deeply insulting that anyone, even a therapist, would say that my sexuality is interchangeable. That's it.
I think sexuality is incredibly complex. I don't think we can put it down to it just being a choice.
This is one thing that I'm just so adamant about.
Being queer is not a choice.
No, absolutely not.
When people ask me if gay is a choice, it's quite infuriating.
A ridiculous statement.
You can't help who you love. I didn't choose to be this way. I wouldn't choose to put myself through all of this stress.
Do you know what? If it was a choice, I would definitely be gay. 100%. I love being gay.
Homosexuality is not accepted in Islam, so the Muslim community will never accept homosexuality in a whole.
You either be gay or you be Muslim. No one is forcing you
You
to
see,
be a Muslim.
what are people like me meant to do then? I was brought up in an Islamic household. I'm from an Islamic community. I'm from a very conservative Pakistani community.
For a lot of young Muslims living here in the UK, there can be a cultural pressure for them to get married, and the idea of coming out is simply not an option. I'm going to meet Mariam, who says she wants to be with a woman, but right now is on the hunt for a marriage of convenience. For Mariam, the stakes are high. This is not her real name, and it's not her own flat. Why is it so important for you to get married?
I think there's an expectation put on you as a young child, especially for women, that, you know, eventually one day you're going to get married, you're going to have kids. I was brought up conservative Muslim. It's a culture that states that, you know, relationship between same sex isn't the normal way. You know, you're banished to, you know, the fires of hell.
How do you identify now religiously?
I'm on the cusp of being an atheist. When something conflicts with who you are, that kind of made me steer away from the religion.
Do your parents think that you're a devout Muslim?
They think I'm a Muslim, not devout.
And they're wrong?
Yes.
If your parents were to find out about your sexuality, what would happen?
Essentially, I'd be disowned.
And losing your family for you is not an option?
It's not no.
Do you see yourself ever coming out to them?
I dream of it one day, but at this present moment in time, no.
You're going to tell me a bit about marriage of convenience. What is it?
It's essentially just a social cover-up, letting people know that I'm in a heterosexual relationship on the outside, so I can go out with people of the same sex.
Would you mind showing me your profile?
Yeah, okay, so...
This is your description of yourself.
Yes, it is. I'm looking for strictly platonic marriage of convenience. I'm not looking for any sort of sexual relationship. There should be an understanding between me and the individual that we can freely get on with our lives and still be friends.
Wow. It's the weirdest dating app profile I've ever seen. So when you're with a girl, at what point do you tell them, I am looking for a gay man to be my kind of cloak?
It's going to be a hard one. If I was in that situation, I'd be like, you know, jog on. I either stay single for the rest of my life or try and find that special someone who's very understanding.
That would be an incredible woman.
It would.
I think she's out there.
Somewhere.
I hope she is.
A marriage of convenience is a way for Mariam to hold on to her family and wider community. She's not willing to give up on them, even if it means she must live a lie. In the absence of acceptance, it's an interesting alternative.
I got these amazing little chocolates for Elijah to celebrate today because obviously it is a massive, massive day and it's been an absolutely huge time coming. Why is it that this church practices such inclusivity and such openness compared to most of the others?
The Bible says on the very first page that every man and every woman is made in God's image. That's what it's about. So everyone is welcome, whatever their gender identity and their sexuality, they are welcome here in this church.
It's a great thing.
Welcome
I think you're being called away. We're about to start, so I don't want to hold you, but I'm looking forward to the ceremony. Thank you, Steve. Cheers.
God bless you. Welcome everyone, it's great to see you here at Oasis Church Waterloo. We have this wonderful opportunity this morning of worshipping God together. I'm going to ask Elijah to come to the front. Elijah is going to be named. So Elijah, there you go. Welcome. Elijah's obviously a little bit nervous, I guess, standing up in front of people, but Elijah will explain to you why he's come to this point and why this moment is a sacred and holy and special moment for us all.
I came out as female to male transgender over 2 years ago. Whilst the process of accepting and showing my gender identity was freeing on so many levels, it's also proven to be the hardest and most challenging experience of my entire life. But I found that the more that I shared my new name with people around me, the more I also started learning to apologise for who I was. I apologised for my voice being too high, for my body being too feminine, for my interests being too stereotypically female. Because the world around me didn't seem to accept me, I stopped accepting myself. I lived in fear of having to explain my gender identity because how do you explain a part of yourself that you've learnt to hate? This act of allowing myself to be seen and heard reminds me that today is about letting go of my shame, my fear and my self-doubt. And today I can honestly say that I'm proud to be Elijah and I am grateful to be able to share my story with you in a space that I know to be safe and encouraging. Thank you.
So, will you, the congregation of this church, commit yourselves to Elijah to play your part in supporting him through your love and active, ongoing care and prayer? We do.
Do you feel like you've been reborn?
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Feel like a new person?
Yeah. I feel stronger now because it's out there. There's nothing left to be scared of.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah,
I'm Elijah.
exactly. And I think they took it.
Well, everyone said we do. Then you lost
You're going to
it.
make me cry again. Thank you.
How was that? Was that okay?
It was okay. Yeah, it was good.
This is like nothing I've ever seen before, you know, growing up in a very different religious setup. There is so much love in this room.
Well done. I'm so proud of you. Well done.
There are churches, there are religious
groups like this that accept everyone.
Oh, you're so good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Does it affect how you are outside of this building, what happened today?
I'm going to remember everyone standing up and just accepting me and think, fuck it. I've got a community, so it doesn't matter what people think of me anymore outside of this community. And I feel better in my own skin.
Well done.
Thank you. And thanks for coming.
Oh, well, my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. What a special day to be part of.
Yeah.
I claim a faith, yeah. I tend to shy away from the word religious because I think it has a lot of negative connotations.
I've identified as Christian in the past, but not anymore. I don't really feel like it has a place in my life.
No, I'm spiritual because the religion has caused many problems in the world. But the truth of the matter is, the Bible says God is love.
I identify as a spiritual person who appreciates lots of different religions.
I know what I believe in, I know who I believe in, and I try and do right by that. Everything that I've prayed for, I've got.
I caught up with former Jehovah's Witness Josh in his new life. I'm here in his new home, his new habitat, if you like, to see what he's like as a young, open, free, gay man in the middle of East London. And of course, I've brought some beverages. I've always been told by my mother, never arrive to a party with swinging hands.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you again. You okay?
Oh my God, look at your flat.
I know, can you believe it?
It's gorgeous.
It's actually clean for once.
Can I move in?
Sure.
I love your interior design. Sorry, that's the gay in me coming out.
So you know what we're doing tonight?
I'm actually not sure. I've never been like out in East London.
Okay.
What am I?
So we're going to this bar called The Glory tonight. It's a gay bar and it's quite unique. I've found people here now that have become my new family, that have taken me under their wing, that have kind of made friends with me and said, look, Josh, if you need us at any time, we're here for you. And I think that's really important, like in the ongoing process. Because it's not ended yet for me, you know, there's still a process that I need to go through continually to carry on figuring myself out and I guess figuring what's going on in my head.
Cheers. God, you really
oh, you have to look into the eyes when you cheers.
Oh, there's 7 years of bad sex. Look at me. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Time for Josh to show me what his new life has to offer.
The environment that I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, it was very controlled. You know, you're expected to be the person that they wanted you to be. I could be myself here, in my hometown. I felt trapped, I felt lost.
Okay. It's just a little different.
Is it possible to be both a gay man and devout to your religion, whatever that religion may be? Can you have both in the same world?
For my particular religion, I don't think it's possible. I think it is possible, however, to be gay and take religious values from the Bible and to apply them in your life. But for a particular religion like Jehovah's Witnesses, I think it's impossible to lead two lives at the same time.
Look, of course an LGBT person can have faith, but how they choose to live in that faith and practice it is an extremely personal thing. Does God really hate queers? I don't think so.